Slowly, Fairchild drifted further and further away from Speedway. It's kind of like it tore his heart out. He was so sad, and it was horrible to watch. And then he started getting further and further away from me. I would want to go to a shop, and he'd say, Brian, just don't come to my shop anymore. I just want some time to think about it. And so I was really sad. I could just see Fairchild's heart gone from Speedway. And I had to kind of get on my own, like work on my bike by myself. And I had to kind of wean away from Fairchild, which I did not want to do. I wanted him with me like forever. And he just started drifting further and further away from Speedway and from me. And I just didn't like that at all. And I must say that I made mistakes. As a young boy, we make mistakes. We're not perfect. And a young 17-year-old boy is definitely far from perfect. I remember one time I invited him over to the Santa Ana Bowl at the Eddie West Field in Santa Ana. I had kind of developed into first division and was one of the top point getters at that track. And I had some success, lots of success in D1. And I invited him and he came with his wife, Ida. And I can't remember the whole story about that night, but I believe I won the scratch main event in D1. And they interviewed me on the loudspeaker. And I went ahead and thanked everybody and stuff like that, and said I was the tuner of my motorcycle, because at that time, Fairchild was not with me that much. And I forgot to thank him for everything he did for me. And he was in the audience with his wife, Ida. And I think he was very mad that I did not thank him, because he was really the key to my success to that point. And I didn't realize it, but I talked to Jerry just after, and he was mad. He said, Brian, wasn't I a big part of your success? You didn't even thank me at the Santa Ana Bowl the other night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Jerry, I'm so sorry. I was just so excited about winning, and I won for you, like I wanted to see you happy that I had won. And he wasn't happy that I won. He was mad because I didn't thank him. So all you racers and stuff, always thank your sponsors and those people who are helping you or who helped you get to where you were. And that was really one of my big mistakes, and I take blame for that. I felt very sad, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Because I was just only a young 17-year-old, it was difficult for me to know all this stuff. And I felt bad because I needed Jerry in my life. I needed his help. It's kind of like he was like my aura, like he was leaving me. And so he told me not to help me no more. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. So I went ahead and went to his house in Pasadena, California. He had a house just up the hill from the Maley's Ranch. And one night I went to his house with his wife, Ida, and him at home. He had this really big house on the hill. And I sat down and I apologized to Ida and him. And I said, I'm so sorry that I didn't acknowledge you guys, because you guys are just a huge part of my life, my racing life. And I felt so horrible. I had to come up here and tell you. And I just asked for his forgiveness. And then I asked him if he could help me again. But Jerry's heart was out of Speedway or drifting out fast because of the SRA being cut out by Oxley. And Jerry was kind of shaking his head like he was going to help me as I was begging him to come back to me. And then he turned to his wife, Ida, and said, what do you think? To Ida. And Ida says, no, don't help him. I don't want to be a part of that guy no more. And I'm like, oh, God. And Jerry said, I'm sorry, I have to follow my wife. She said, no, I can't help you no more. I was so sad. I'm like begging Ida, please, please, Ida, help me. I need your help. You're like part of my family, you're everything to me. And Jerry said, sorry, Brian, I can't be a part of your racing no more. You have to do it on your own. And I was so sad. I went ahead and worked on my bike. I tore my engine apart and I screwed up I put the valve spring spacers too many, and my bike was running really slow, and I was so angry at myself for touching Fairchild's engine. And I asked Jerry, can you help me? And Jerry said, sorry, I can't help you no more. And I was so mad. I was so frustrated, that everything just tumbled down at once. And I caused a lot of the problems too, so I'm not blaming anyone. But it just bummed me out. And that's kind of one of the few things, there's more, that led me to just go ahead and get out of Speedway, because my heart was torn out too when Fairchild left me. And like I say, he was like my father, and I made mistakes, and then he left me, and I just felt like, you know what, there's no sense of going on. I don't have my Yoda behind me. And he was like everything. I knew I could be a champion with Fairchild. And without him, I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to go to college and stuff and kind of move on with my life and stuff. I've had a few injuries racing and stuff, and I realized that maybe, it might be time for me to plan my future. I did realize that there was going to be some injuries that were going to happen to me if I went to England. And I just decided, you know what, just get your life together, go to college and prepare your future and do the things necessary. So with sort of the talent that I had developed at a young age, and it was brief, it wasn't a long time, I decided that I was going to switch gears and go to college and stuff like that. And I went ahead and just sold my bike to F.R. Miller. It's in a museum now somewhere. And I just felt so sad about the way things collapsed. And like I say, I was a part of the fault of the whole situation. But I've never told anyone this story. And you are the first person that I told. But, racing Speedway was a great experience. And there's more reasons why I quit racing Speedway. I'll tell you about that on another show if you want to hear it. But like I said, it's the first time I mentioned this story to anyone. And it's a true story also. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today and talking about how things worked out for me. Sometimes the stars align the certain ways that you need to go in another direction. And sometimes the stars align where you need to go in that direction. But this time, the stars kind of aligned that I should get out of the racing, even though I was doing quite well. I just realized that I really wanted Fairchild, and I knew that I couldn't make it without him. So that's what I did. But there's a couple more stories of why I got out. If you want to hear more about it, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out with us today in the new Speedway workshop and motorcycle workshop. I just developed this recently, and it's just really nice. It caught on fire, and we were able to kind of fix it up. So now I have a home for the motorcycles and the motorcycle stuff. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and we appreciate you. Thanks for subscribing, liking the show, and we're going to talk to you next time. Thank you so much.